This story takes place in a mysterious and scary setting. The main character, Venkat, is dressed like a priest and is doing a dark ritual. He has drawn a circle, with a dead girl lying inside it while his wife sits in front of him. As Venkat continues the ritual, the atmosphere becomes more frightening. As the ritual goes on, strange things start happening to his wife. Her body begins to stiffen. Just then, some villagers burst into Venkat's house. They accuse him of practicing black magic, saying he is responsible for the recent deaths and disappearances of several children in the village. Angry, the villagers pull him and his wife outside. Even as he is dragged out, Venkat keeps chanting his spells, as if he doesn't fear what will happen next. The village priest, to protect everyone and end the dark magic, orders that Venkat and his wife be burned alive. Right after, Venkat and his wife are set on fire. Their young son, Bhairav, watches everything. As she dies, Venkat's wife curses the village, saying that in 12 years, it will become a graveyard, and everyone will die. The next day, the villagers argue about Bhairav, worrying that he might also be evil and might harm the village when he grows up. Some villagers say he should be killed too, but the village leader, Harish Chandra Prasad, calms them down and decides to send Bhairav to an orphanage in another village. There, we see Bhairav filled with anger, planning revenge, and constantly studying strange books. The story then jumps to 1991. We see a man named Sid working in his field when he is attacked by a strange flock of crows, which seem bewitched. The crows make him lose control, and he stumbles back to the village in a daze. We then meet Surya, who arrives in the village with his mother and a friend. His mother was born in this village but left many years ago. Now, after nearly 15 years, she has finally come back to her hometown. On the way, a crow hits them and falls, which Surya's mother sees as a bad omen. But Surya doesn't believe in it, so he just pushes the crow aside and keeps going. They all reach the house of Surya's mother's niece, Parvati, who lives with her husband and young son in a small house. There, Surya notices that Parvati has some problem with her ear, and he tells her to be careful about it. In the village, preparations are starting for the Sawan Ekadashi fair. The village priest reads from an old sacred book, which has rules and guidance for the village since the temple's establishment, to help organize the fair. People in the village also ask about Sid, who has been missing for the past week. This is the same Sid who we saw in the beginning, attacked by the crows and wandering in the forest. At night, while Surya is sitting and chatting with his friend, he notices a thief stealing chickens. He catches the thief, who turns out to be a girl stealing chickens just for fun, so he lets her go. Later, Surya and his mother go to have dinner at the village leader Harish Chandra Prasad's house. There, Surya meets the same girl again, who turns out to be the village leader's daughter, Nandini. They joke around a bit, and he also meets Sudha, the servant's daughter, and has a brief conversation with her. After a while, the village doctor comes to give Nandini an injection, because she has a condition that makes her body stiffen up. If she doesn't get these injections regularly, it could be dangerous for her health. The next day, Surya notices that Nandini is secretly helping Sudha meet her boyfriend from another village. Surya talks to them and teases them a little. Sudha's boyfriend, Kumar, loves her deeply. But since people in the village might suspect him, Surya suggests that Kumar can pretend to be his relative when he visits. This way, Surya can keep helping them. And Nandini also joins them in meeting Kumar. Surya is starting to like Nandini. A few days pass like this. One day, Sudha tells Kumar that her family has arranged her marriage with someone else. Kumar is heartbroken and tries to convince her. Nandini, Surya, and Chandra all help him. Finally, Sudha confesses her true love for Kumar and decides to marry him. More days pass and the fair begins. Surya and his mother need to return to the city. Before leaving, his mother transfers her house to Parvati, so she can live better and leave the small house. Surya is ready to confess his love to Nandini, but she hesitates to accept his proposal. She explains that she wants to stay close to her mother's memories and doesn't want to lose that connection. Surya promises her that if she marries him, he will keep her close to her mother's memory. The village fair is in full swing. Sid, who had been lost in the forest all this time, returns to the village in terrible shape, with many wounds on his body. He goes to the temple, where he coughs up blood and dies. Seeing this, everyone became worried. This kind of thing had never happened in the temple's inner sanctum before, and it was considered very bad. The priests read the scriptures and say that a crisis is coming for the village. The goddess, who is supposed to go back to her home, is still in the temple where a death has occurred, which is a disgrace to her. Now, a curse will fall on the village, and to protect themselves, they must close the temple for 8 days. The village needs to be sealed off from all 8 directions, so no one can go in or out. Everyone in the village must keep all their small and big deities and religious items inside their homes and lock them up securely. During these 8 days, evil powers may disturb them, and they must deal with those themselves. If this ritual fails, the whole village will be destroyed. The time came for Surya's family to return to the city. Until the last moment, Surya keeps waiting for Nandini's answer, but she doesn't come. Due to the stress, Nandini suffers a seizure, and all her injections break. The doctor orders new injections from another city, but his assistant has an accident on the way. Surya and his family find the assistant, and Surya begs him for the injection so he can take it into the village to save Nandini. Without fear, Surya enters the village for his love, where protective rituals and borders have been set up to seal it. As soon as he crosses the boundary, the village is completely locked for 8 days and nights, and Surya can't leave. With the village sealed, that night, Sudha, who planned to run away with her boyfriend Kumar, sneaks out. She meets Kumar at the railway station, feeling a little scared. Kumar tries to comfort her, but he stands on the tracks and a train suddenly hits him. Seeing this, Sudha faints. She comes back to the village in a dazed state, and as soon as she enters, the seal breaks. She, still in a trance, puts her face into a beehive, ending her life. The curse had begun. The next day, Nandini comes to meet Surya. She gives him her mother's locket, her last memory of her mother, as a gift, and told him that as long as you have this, nothing will happen to you. Her voice holds a certainty that stirs something deep within him. That night, Parvati hears some strange sounds from the forest nearby. When she goes to check, she sees a man from the village standing there in a strange state, and he too takes his own life. Seeing this, Parvati herself falls into a trance-like state. The next day, she takes her own life. Everyone thinks that her ear pain must have driven her to do it, but the truth was something else entirely. During her funeral, Surya notices that the ear where Parvati put the knife was actually her healthy ear, not the damaged ear. This raises suspicions in the village about why people are dying like this. The village priest suggests that someone might have broken a sacred rule. The village head orders people to check each house, but Sudha's parents lie in fear, saying she's at home. Meanwhile, people are discussing where to perform the cremations, since the cremation ground is outside the village. The priest suggests they use an old house at the village border as a temporary cremation ground. Coincidentally, it's the same house where Venkat's wife cursed the village, saying that after 12 years, its people would start dying. But could this curse be the reason? Or is there something even more dangerous going on? Slowly, the truth begins to reveal itself. Outside the village, a crow falls dead near an Aghori, a wandering mystic. When he touches it, he senses the dark magic affecting the village. He goes to the villagers and warns them that black magic rituals have been performed there, and that if they ignore it, everyone in the village could be in danger. He was able to help the villagers, and he had a feeling that many people had died there. But the villagers didn't believe him and insisted only 2 people had died. When he tried to go inside to help, the priest stopped him, so he left, trusting everything to Mahadev. Now, Surya talks to the doctor, explaining that Parvati had a problem with her other ear and wonders why she would have put a nail in her first ear. He thinks there must be a big reason behind it, and now he feels that the Aghori's warning was correct. Surya and the doctor then go to Suri's house to investigate his death. As they walk further, they find Suri's bicycle in the forest, and not far from it, they find Sudha's body. Surya starts thinking deeply about these strange events. In a bag belonging to Sudha, he finds 2 train tickets, and when he checks them, he found that a couple had come to the railway station and that the boy died on the railway tracks. He calls his friend to confirm, and he finds out that the boy who died was Kumar. Very troubled, Surya goes straight to the priest, who is also worried because his cows had stopped giving milk and had started giving blood instead. Surya tells the priest that what the Aghori said about the village was true and that something bad is happening here. Kumar had died first, then Sudha attacked by bees and killed herself. Suri must have seen all this. After that, Suri took his own life, and Parvati was the one who saw him die. Now the danger lies with the last person who saw Parvati alive. And it was not anyone else but Nandini who had seen Parvati last. Surya starts running to save her. He heads to her house, where someone tells him that Nandini was heading toward her home. When he gets there, he sees her jumping into the well. But Surya reaches in time, pulls her out, and saves her. By now, a large crowd had gathered there. Seeing Nandini unconscious, the priest says that this curse will spread even through the air and turn the entire village into a graveyard. He explains that when Sudha broke the Ashtachakra Digbandhan, it awakened the dark forces in Venkat's house, unleashing a curse that Venkat's wife had given before she died. To save everyone, the priest calls for the Raj Adesh, Royal Decree book. Surya asks the doctor what exactly happened 12 years ago. The doctor explains that 12 years ago, children in the village started dying mysteriously from a strange illness. A little later, Venkat moved to the village with his family, and because his family was unaffected by the illness, people started suspecting him. One day, he was seen carrying a dead child to his house. Villagers caught him performing black magic and burned him and his wife alive. After that, people began hearing crying and shouting from his house, and shadowy figures were seen. To protect the village, they sealed the house, and no one has entered it since. After hearing all this, Surya realizes that they will find the answers to all their questions inside that house, as everything started from there. Both Surya and the doctor enter the house, where they find a book showing that there used to be a book here that is now missing. They discover hidden books, one of which contains a ritual from the Atharvaveda that describes how to bring the dead back to life, because the eyes retain some life energy for about 6 hours after death. There, Surya read about a deadly ritual called Nazar Tantra. This curse drives anyone who sees a dying person to feel an urge to end their own life. Meanwhile, the village priest, after studying the Raj Adesh book, explains that dark forces weaken during a solar eclipse. To break this curse, they must place Nandini in a wooden box, have everyone offer a drop of their blood, and then burn the box. This, he explains, is the only way to save the village. Otherwise, the curse will destroy them all. They prepare a box for this ritual. Harishchandra tries to stop them, but nobody listens because they're afraid for their own lives. And after all, they had done something similar 12 years ago. Just then, Surya arrives and pleads for a little time to save Nandini. He tells them he'll go outside the village and return with a solution. The priest hesitates, as the Ashtachakra Digbandhan has already broken, but he agrees. However, he warns Surya to return before the eclipse, as that's when the ritual must be performed. Surya heads out, but villagers from a nearby village try to stop him, fearing the curse might spread to them if he passes through. Despite this, Surya manages to leave. He then visits an orphanage where Bhairav had once been admitted. There, he learns that Bhairav was a quiet, reclusive child who didn't make friends. He spent all his time performing strange rituals alone, day and night, wandering through the woods. He had become so powerful that he could paralyze people just by looking at them. One night, he was caught performing rituals naked, and when the warden confronted him afterward, Bhairav paralyzed him with a glance and then vanished. Surya then goes into the forest to search for Bhairav. He encounters several Aghoris, mystics, who mistake him for an enemy and try to kill him, but find themselves unable to do so. At that moment, an Aghori who had previously visited the village appears and clarifies that Surya has come seeking help. Surya tells him about the Nazar Tantra affecting the village. The Aghori explains that this is an ancient ritual once used for purifying souls, known as Pashu Tattva Prayog. If someone is using it now, their goal is likely to destroy the village. They enter a cave where they suspect Bhairav had performed his rituals. The Aghori senses Bhairav's presence there. They find documents revealing that Bhairav is actually Kumar, who sacrificed himself to begin his mission. They also find the real Rajadesh book, which had been swapped with a fake. The book currently in the temple was part of Bhairav's plan to destroy the village, not to save it. The Aghori explains that spirits alone cannot do much, so Kumar first took his own life, becoming a spirit, and then possessed Sudha. Everything was unfolding according to a plan. Through Sudha's body, Bhairav's spirit broke the Ashtachakra Digbandhan. But this was not the act of just one spirit. Someone else was controlling it from behind. Surya now realizes he must stop this spirit before the eclipse. Only then can the curse be broken and the village saved. Here the eclipse has started. The villagers, believing they must protect themselves from that curse, bring Nandini in a wooden box to Venkat's house. All of them offer blood sacrifices, unaware that these rituals were actually traps set by Bhairav to possess and destroy them. Meanwhile, Surya returns to the village with the Aghori. The Aghori senses a strange power within Surya, noticing that Aghori's spells have no effect on him, and backing away from Surya's powerful aura. Suddenly, they are hit by a mysterious accident. After recovering, they continue forward, but are ambushed by people from a neighboring village. Surya sends the Aghori ahead to open the temple, while he tries to convince the villagers that he is risking everything to protect them. The Aghori opens the temple, and Surya reaches Venkat's house, only to find the villagers trapped under a dark spell. The Aghori explains that Nandini is caught in a circle of fire, and that breaking the spell will take time. In the meantime, Surya realizes he must find out who in the village has been secretly helping Vairav. When Surya notices that the village head, Harish Chandra Prasad, is missing, he goes to his house. In a hidden chamber, he finds old ritual markings that reveal a history of dark practices. Finally, he confronts the village head and uncovers a shocking truth, revealing a terrifying twist to the story. On that day, 2 members of Venkat's family, Venkat himself and his wife, were killed while their son barely escaped. But their family wasn't limited to just 3 members, there were actually 4. The 4th was their daughter, who was none other than Nandini. Yes, it was her voice that was heard screaming from inside the house, and it was her shadow that often appeared mysteriously. After the purification ritual, Harishchandra found this young girl. He realized that if he handed her over to the villagers, they would kill her. So, he decided to raise her as his own daughter. The shocking truth was that Nandini had been secretly supporting Vairav and was herself practicing dark rituals, which means Nandini and his own brother Vairav, both of them were performing dark rituals to take revenge on the villagers for their parents' death, which means all the rituals we saw earlier in that hidden chamber were done by Nandini. Knowing all this, Surya says that now they must not save Nandini from the villagers, but save the villagers from Nandini. Nandini and the Bhairav inside her, who is actually her brother, fight the Aghori and injure him. They then perform a dark ritual and set the tree where their parents were burned on fire. After that, they order the villagers, who are under the control of dark magic, to kill themselves by jumping into the fire. By now, Surya arrives at the scene and says that what Nandini is doing is wrong, as well as what her father did. Hearing this, Nandini becomes sad because Surya also thinks her father was wrong, even though she was the one who loved him. But Nandini explains that the villagers wronged her parents too. They never tried to understand what her parents were trying to do and just killed them without asking. She reveals the truth. Her mother had been paralyzed from the beginning, and to heal her, her father, Venkat, tried everything but failed. Science couldn't cure her. Then, he found a solution in the Atharvaveda and used its power to create a locket that he gave to his wife to wear. This was the same locket that Nandini had made Surya wear. That is the reason nothing happened to him, and no evil could touch him. Back to the story, Venkat was not a bad man. He felt sad seeing the children in the village die one by one. He wanted to help and decided to bring them back to life using an ancient ritual. But the villagers misunderstood him. They thought he was involved in dark magic and doing something evil, so they caught him during his first attempt and killed him. And now, they all must pay, Nandini said. Surya is trying to convince Nandini to forgive the villagers. He tells her that Venkat was thinking about the villagers' well-being, even in the end. He says the villagers made a mistake because they didn't understand, but Nandini is doing things on purpose. Nandini doesn't listen, filled with bitterness. She says, "These villagers killed my parents, and now they brought me here to kill me too. They all must die." Surya doesn't know what else to do. In a desperate move, he stabs himself, believing that if Nandini truly loves him, she will listen to him and stop her revenge. Seeing this, Nandini softens and steps out of the circle of fire. She tells Surya that, with his love, she will try to forgive everyone slowly. But within her, the spirit of Vairav begins chanting a dark spell, and one by one, the villagers start jumping into the fire. Seeing no other way, and with a heavy heart, Surya ends Nandini's life, knowing that as long as Vairav's soul is inside her, the village will never be safe. Vairav would kill every last villager. When Nandini dies, Vairav's soul also departs, and the villagers wake up from the spell. Everything returns to normal. Surya makes the ultimate sacrifice, giving up his love for Nandini, because the villagers had given him a chance to save Nandini's life. In the end, he chooses the safety of the village over his own happiness, knowing this is the only way to protect everyone from Vairav's vengeance. In the final scene, Surya says the villagers should build a school in Nandini's haunted house to fix the lack of education, which caused all the problems. As he speaks, his eyes glow blue, showing that he now has the locket's powers. This could mean he can protect the village, or that Bhairav and Nandini's spirits have mixed with him, possibly leading him to take revenge. Virupaksha ends on a sad note with a lot of loss. The movie mixes magic with tragedy, leaving us to wonder if these powers will be used for good or evil. That's a wrap on today's video, guys. If you enjoyed the story and the breakdown, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome content. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the movie's ending? See you in the next video, where we dive into more thrilling stories. Until then, stay awesome.